Hi everyone, so today we're just doing a small shirt topper which will go on any card. The variations you can do are so many. This one I've put onto an easel card. Okay, so simply this was an A6 folded portrait rather than landscape, and all I've done is folded the top one in half, and that then stands up like that. Okay, let's have a look at another sample. This one is the shirt on a gatefold card, and I've added a waistcoat. This one I've added a tie that I had in my stash, and I've also made an extra bit to look like a sleeve folded in. Okay, a little pocket. These are just spare peel-offs that I had when I'd taken off the peel-offs. They were left behind. Okay. But it doesn't have to be a man's shirt at all. This one I've made into a lady's one, so I've used a patterned paper. I've brought in some little bits of white trim, peel-offs, and an extra pocket. So you can see there's so many variations. So let's put that to one side. So you're going to be able to get 4 out of an A4 sheet, so it's very economical. And so we're going to cut the basic topper 10.5 by 12.5. So this is our piece that we've got here. We're going to measure 2 centimetres across the width and mark with a pencil. Don't need any special equipment to do this. Right. Along the 2 centimetre mark, we're going to mark 5.25 on the front. So there we have, to mark it so it stands out for you. And the next thing we're going to do is to bring in the score board. And we want to score down to this line at 2.5 and 8. Okay. Right. Now we're going to cut along the 2 centimetre line as far as the score lines. So we're going to come in from this side. Careful that you go right to the score line. Good. Right, so we've now got these 2 little flaps free up to the score line. Now we want a strip for the collar, because when this folds over, which we'll do at an angle in a minute, it shows white. You might want a white collar, but on this particular one I'm going to do the same collar as the fabric. So I have cut myself a 2 centimetre strip for my collar. Turn it over, and I want to glue this above the line. So I'm going to take double-sided tape, and I want to make sure that is above the line. I may have to trim any excess, and yes, when I look at that, I want to just trim anything that hangs over. So we've stuck it to the back. Right, here is our 5.25 centimetre mark, and I'm going to take my first collar piece, and this top edge here we're going to fold so it's onto that mark. There. Take the next one, and the top corner here goes down to the centre mark. Now, if you're using card, the back piece will creep slightly out of line. So don't worry about it, just take your scissors, and it's only a fraction of an inch, just trim it. So that you haven't got that white edge showing. If you're using patterned paper, you won't get that. And I have a nifty little thing to make that easier. So there is our collar. There. I'm not going to stick that one down just for the moment because I'm not sure whether I shall put a tie or anything. From spare pieces now, I'm going to cut a pocket 3 by 3. So I will put it onto here. If you've got a punch, by all means use a punch. Right, so there is my pocket, and you can see it doesn't show up very much at all. So I have a piece that I've put aside for my waistcoat in a minute. So I'm going to stick this down. And I'm just going to cut a smidgen all the way round. All I'm really doing is adding a shadow. So that it stands off the fabric. I'm going to stick this one flat down, but if you want to put anything in the pocket, then you need to put just glue down the 3 sides. But I don't plan to do that just yet. My collar down so that I can see exactly where I'm going. If you've got gingham or check or something, it's easier to line up to the lines. Right, I think I'm going to leave that, so I'm going to stick that down. I might even try and put a bow tie on, as we haven't done that yet. So fold it over, and you can see how the shirt is coming together. Okay, so I'm going to add some buttons down the front, but what I want to do now is to put my waistcoat on. So I have cut a piece 10.5 inches square. If you remember, we had a 10.5 square with 2 centimetres up there. Right, so I'm going to fold it in half. There's no directional pattern, so it doesn't matter which way. And and we're going to mark 3 centimetres along the fold line. Let's get a nice crisp fold there. So I'm going to measure 3 centimetres down and 3 centimetres, 1, 2, 3, 3 centimetres up. Right. On the outside edge, we need to allow for the shoulders. So we're coming in 2.5 centimetres there, and we're coming in 2.5 centimetres at the bottom, and I am going to cut those lines. Okay, so I'm going to take that, snip off that, and when we open it out, there we have the waistcoat on there. Okay, now you can't see my pocket underneath, but it was just to show you how to do that pocket. I'm going to do another one on here in a minute. Bring that in. I'm going to line up my shoulders. Oops, it's gone down a bit too quick. So there's my waistcoat, and now we're going to add some little buttons down there. Right. So I'm going to go for silver. Now when you've used up bits on your peel-offs, you'll find you've got little odd bits left. So I've got these little bits here. I'm going to pick them up, and they're not going down the centre because your waistcoat would cross over. So I'm just putting them a little bit to one side of the line. It will change as to whether it's a gent's shirt or a lady's blouse. I think I can just get another one there. So it'll be either side of that crease line. Okay, so I think we're going to put little buttons on the collar. Yep. There we go. And we're going to make a 3x3 pocket. So it's my 3 centimetre line. And there's my 3 centimetre line. So there we have the little pocket. Now what I'm going to do with this one is slightly different. And I'm going to stick it down, and I'm going to put some stitching on it. You can really go to town and make all sorts of variations, and all it is costing you is a little bit of A4 card. Now I'm going to place that on there, and I'm going to take a black pen which has got a very fine point, and I'm going to do stitching across the top of the pocket. going to do stitching down the edge. And the side. So there we've got that. Now I also want to add a little bit of stitching down the edge of the waistcoat. So this ruler has got a little metal inlay, so I'm just using that to mark off a little border. Now there's one extra bit of detail that I need to put on here. If you remember, I said that the waistcoat would cross over. We don't want to put stitching down the centre line. Right? The stitching has to go to this side of the buttons, and you'll see it come to life. There we go. So now you can see it actually shows that it's crossed over onto one side, and I'm going to put a little mark either side of the button which indicates the buttonhole. So that would be on there. And we could put a little button on there. So let's bring this one back and find another little, it is on there. There we go. Once again, the little marks either side to denote buttonhole. So what I want to do now is to add a little sleeve. If you have a look here, I've got a little sleeve on this bit. Now it's 2.5 centimetres, which is the same as this measurement here, and I've done a little turn back. So I'm going to take a piece of card. At the moment I don't care what size it is, and I'm going to just do a 0.5 centimetre turn back. So that will make my little white cuff. Now I want to put this on here, and I've got here a 2.5 centimetre mark on my scoreboard. So I'm going to come down my 2.5 centimetres. I'm not bothered about how long it is. I'm going to trim that bit down. So I'm going to fold that one over. Fold that over. Now I can put it onto my shirt, and I can decide how much I want it to come over. So I'm going to pop double-sided tape on there. I'm going to put 2 pieces just to make sure it stays put. And I'm going to place it onto there, and then I can simply trim off the side. So we'll go back to this bit, and I'm going to have a little button on the cuff. So let's find one that's the same size. There we go. And that's going to go on the bottom of the cuff there. Okay, so we'll bring all those back in a minute. But what I wanted to show you first is the patterned paper. There we go. The patterned paper. Now, I've used card for this one, and I used card for this one. For the lady's blouse, I've used a paper. Right. So, what I've done on here is I've cut it. Put it on there. 14 and a half by 10 and a half. I've added my collar to it because what I want to do is to score 2 centimetres, and I've got my line, 2 centimetre line there. So if I now fold that, I've now got the collar that when I turn it over, it's going to be exactly right. Okay, so I'm going to cut. Scissors, there we go. I'm going to cut to my 2.5 centimetre line, cut into my 8 centimetre line. I've got my centre marked here. So I'm going to fold that over. Don't worry about the white yet. There. So by adding the 2 centimetres extra, it's now fixed here. I haven't had to glue on anything to the back. So let's just trim that white off. A tiny bit on there. And a tiny bit on there. So there we go. Now, if we bring this one in, you can see that I've added a little bit of fancy edge. So if I take just some scrap card, and I think I'm going to get the scalloped scissor. So what I'm going to do is to just cut myself a little border of white. Doesn't matter what it's made out of. And I'm going to put along the edge my double-sided tape, because it's going to be difficult to put a tiny bit of tape along there. So I'm just going to cut through now. I remove tape. I've just got now a tiny bit of double-sided under there. You can use wet glue, but what I'm going to do is to place that onto there. Come up the other side of the collar. I can see just how much I want it to poke out. tangle my scissors under there, and nobody's going to see what you've done out of there. So I'm going to pop that on. Fold it over, and now you can see we've got this little edge underneath there. So you can go on and decorate. Keep that there for a second. Right, so I've cut a piece for a pocket, and I've now got this bit left over. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to just place that onto there, and then I'm going to just cut off so that I've got the merest hint across the top. Okay. Right, so let's stick that one down. Okay. So this one I've put a little white edge all the way round. This one I haven't, I've just gone across the top. And then we need to look at this bit here. So I'm going to put that down there. And I'm going to choose find the very small end. And I'm going to come down one side of the centre line. There we go. And we're then coming back to little buttons. Using smaller ones on this one. It always pays you to put your finger on the top, stop them pinging off. The holographic ones are worse than just the normal ones. One more. There we go. And I'm coming back and just doing the little marks either side of the button so it looks as though they've been pushed through the buttonhole. Right, so let's have a quick recap. 2 ladies' ones, and literally they will go onto any card front you wish. So this one I've gone on and decorated much more. Let's pop those. Let's bring this one in. This one has got a tie. Let's pop a little bit of double-sided under there just to keep that down. Right, So this one, we've got the bent over sleeve, we've got a tie, we've got the pocket with the contrast flap at the top. We've got this one that we've made a waistcoat, and it's got the same pattern of the shirt material, and we've got a tiny little turn back on there. We've got this one placed onto a card at a jaunty angle. This one I've made a little triangular flap onto the pocket. We've got nice bright gold buttons, and we've got a little black tie that I had in my stash. And the original one that inspired the design, this one we've got two pockets, little pointed flaps. We've got buttons that I've put on this time with a pen, and we've got these bits. Now if you think perhaps of a line dancing one, you could have a little fringing all the way along. It could be a uniform, so it could be a scout uniform, it could be a doctor, nurse, whatever. There are so many variations, and all it depends on is your imagination. And don't forget, you can get 4 out of an A4. So happy playing, God bless. I'd love to see what you make.